It has fallen to me to put together the Wednesday word for this week. Bill Harvey has kindly allowed me to use the following that he's written about his New Year celebrations. I meant to write this yesterday. However, I've had such a wild New Year 2 days, I couldn't quite gather thoughts and concentration. New Year's Eve was spent with half a dozen or so local friends. 1 or 2 came and went during the evening for perfectly understandable reasons, but this didn't upset the camaraderie. We played games, laughed a lot, enjoyed a meal, and welcomed 2022. I got home around 1 a.m. We may have ignored a strong degree of social distancing, but this was all in a good cause. And my approach to the adventure of life is just that anyway. And on New Year's Day, I joined a walk and a lunch with friends in Painswick. It was a bad lunch, a bring a dish lunch. I brought, as requested, some prepared vegetables for roasting. The walk and the chat were fun, the former being fairly challenging as there are lots of slopes around Painswick, and when you go down, you also have to trek up. I'd known the hosts for 40 years, but others were all new to me. All this was pretty wild for me, because for 2 days I enjoyed away-from-home friendship with several people, some of whom I knew and trusted, as well as others I was meeting for the first time. I reflected gratefully on the 2 sets of hosts who were generous enough to include me, a potentially grumpy old man, the others who were gracious to engage with me, and the joy of being together. Perhaps all the more so after a year of relative isolation, trips cancelled and freedoms restricted, as well as a world in which almost everyone else was far worse off than me. In a Christmas letter, Kate, one of my friends who has significant health issues, referred to the Bantu word Ubuntu, which is best translated as I am because you are. And the death of Desmond Tutu reminded me that he had said that Ubuntu speaks for the fact that you can't live as a human being in isolation. I very much admire Paul Simon's music, possibly the best songwriter of the last 50 years, but the lyrics of I am a rock, I am an island really miss the point altogether, unless he was being ironic. We believe in, and sometimes for, each other. And all this was reinforced in church this morning. We sang as best we could behind masks, words and actions for Lighthouse, smiled with our eyes and by waving our hands as we greeted each other, sharing the peace, and welcomed visitors, including the privilege of getting alongside 3 young men only very recently arrived in this country from Iran, speaking virtually no English. Richard spoke warmly about the lessons to be learned from the young teenage Jesus becoming detached from his parents when celebrating the Passover feast. How confusion hit his parents when they realised he wasn't travelling home with them, and how they and we in our anxieties needed to understand and embrace his mission of love and redemption as the route out of the confusion and conflicts we experience. I'm really grateful for all that, and also for all the friends over the last 3 days who by word, deed, and simply being there have reinforced that it isn't about me, it's about us. Bill felt it needed a Bible reference, so the following is what's come to my mind. From Ecclesiastes, chapter 4, reading from verse 9. 2 are better than 1, because they have a good return for their labour. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. So let us all work together. Let us all work together through what looks like to be a challenging few days ahead, inviting our Lord to be the 3rd chord in all we do.